Good morning and welcome to the final day of competition here at the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro, the 30th anniversary edition here at Praia de Joaquina. I'm Steve Jackson, joined by my colleague Decio Couto, and we're getting things set up to go into the semifinals and the final, and ultimately crowning our event champion here this afternoon.
That's right. Good morning to all of those who are watching this event with us. Remember, World Surf League is presenting the Hang Loose Pro contest to you live from Florianopolis, the island of Santa Catarina. So welcome, and let's go to the highlights as we had some brilliant action here in Joaquina throughout this whole week. And we have semifinals coming up with Kanoa Igarashi, Griffin Colapinto, and I believe the second heat, we have Brazilians only. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, right now the way it's set up, these four surfers that remain, the real movers and shakers of this event. Coming up, we'll break down the semifinals in just a sec, but right now check out yesterday's highlights. All right, so there you have it. Yesterday's highlights setting up today's final day action. There you can see semifinal number 1. We're going to see the Californians battle it out. 19-year-old Kanoa Igarashi from Huntington Beach against 18-year-old Griffin Colapinto from San Clemente, California. And you know what? These kids have been lighting it up score-wise throughout the course of this event.
That's right. Igarashi will be surfing with the red singlet, and Colapinto, you just saw a glimpse of the man in blue, I should say the kid in blue, paddling there right by his countryman. So interesting scene here in Joaquina Beach, and look how packed this place is.
Yeah, Sunday morning, 9:30 local time. A pretty big crowd continues to gather so that they can see these last few heats to draw to our ultimate conclusion, crowning the event champion. Again, we've got a pair of California kids out in the water battling it out here in semifinal number 1, and then it'll be an all-Brazilian battle in semi number 2, as we'll see defending Santa Catarina QS 6,000 event champion David Silva go up against the seasoned veteran Jadson Andre. As I mentioned, not only these two kids out in the water, but the two guys coming up in semi number 2. These are the guys that have been dropping the biggest scores, the biggest combined heat totals, winning their heats, and looking really strong out in the water as they've separated themselves from the rest of the field as the class of the competition field here at the Hang Loose Pro.
Yes, very focused, both of these athletes throughout the whole event. Remember, we started on Tuesday with very good conditions, and Colapinto started on the first round, and Igarashi, meanwhile, he's seeded into the second round, and that's how it works in the QS. So Kanoa started only on Wednesday when we also had Gabriel Medina, but we have a paddle.
And here we go, looking to establish priority. Colapinto looks off Igarashi, takes the left, opens up with a vertical turn off the top. Now a quick little check turn and then kicks out. So not exactly a high-scoring wave, but it will get Colapinto on the board first. Now Igarashi with priority. As we get things rolling here in this 30-minute semifinal, same rules apply. Top 2 waves will be scored. The winner will earn passage to the final.
Right. Well, Colapinto is paddling back out after his first wave, and we just saw the man in red with a quick in and out. That was Igarashi from Huntington Beach, California. And as we were talking about before, Igarashi started on the second round, and that's when the CT surfers started too, because they are seeded into this second round, which starts a day later. So Colapinto has had a strong run to be here on the 6th day of competition, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be an amazing show.
We've all been really impressed with the performance we've seen from Colapinto working his way from the first round, now finding himself here in semifinal number 1. And you know what? This kid has pulled out some big moves, some gutsy performances along the way, and he has definitely earned his spot here in the final 4 of this event. Meanwhile, Igarashi, he came into this event ranked 8th. With his performance here, he has already moved himself up to number 3 in the QS standings. So some big ramifications from the performances from these guys, as both of these guys have really made some ground in the rankings. And here we go, Igarashi up and riding.
Wow, quick floater there to make things matter. He finishes off with a strong re-entry there on these conditions here today in Joaquina. So Igarashi starts his wave count now with maybe a good score. Colapinto scored a 3.33 in his first wave. We watched that a while ago. And, Igarashi had a very quick in and out, and there it is with a strong floater, and then he finishes off. Wow, strong re-entry there on the inside section. I believe we're not going to be seeing, as we watched yesterday, the outside moves. The swell has moved a little bit towards the shore break, so we have some strong little lefts and rights on offer today here in Joaquina Beach.
Well, before we get too deep into this first semifinal, just a quick look at our schedule of events for today. Obviously, we're going to run semifinal and semifinal number 2 here to start off the day. Then we'll take a 30-minute break between the semis and the final, give our competitors a moment to catch their breath, refresh, and refocus for the final. And we'll get back into the schedule in a little bit as Colapinto up and riding. Big gash off the top, fanning it out. Quick stab there, snaps it back as it gets small on the inside. He continues to work his way through, adding a couple extra turns. And out the back, Igarashi up and riding.
Wow. I believe they have started really their hits because now we have seen some strong surfing here from both of the competitors. We watched Colapinto ride that right-hander, and I believe, he's going to have a good score because Igarashi just dropped a 6.67 on his second. So let's wait for the judges' call. There's the replay.
Yeah, here we go, looking at that outside opening, a slash off the top from Colapinto, and then a nice hard carving turn there, making it rain out the back. Another strong snap there, and then he'll finish off with a couple more turns on the inside. So that'll be a little bit more to Griffin's liking as he looks to add a second score. He opened up with a 3.33, now looking to build on his scores and replace that 3.33 as a backup. So scores coming down. Igarashi with the early advantage there. You can see a 6.87 waiting for his latest, and here's the replay.
Well, there he is, turns squares off the bottom, strong off the top. Right there, he checks with the lip, but then he decides to kick out. Maybe there wasn't an opportunity there, but blue is up again.
Colapinto up and riding, driving on the rail, trying to line up a section. Unfortunately, that wave's going to run off and close out on him, so he dives off the back and will make his way back out to the lineup again, waiting for some scores to register for both Igarashi and Colapinto. And here we see Igarashi with his next wave opportunity.
Wow. Well, that lines up nicely for him. He does a very good snap to start things off, and then he tries to go to the air, but couldn't quite land that, so he will pedal back out. Igarashi, he's wearing red. He has a good score already in the number of a 6.67, and judges are still to put. There's a replay from Igarashi.
Here you can see the vertical approach, big snap, fanning it out, and now he lines it up. It looks like he's going for the nose pick reverse, but his foot comes off the tail pad, and he rotates. The board does not, unfortunately, not able to finish off that maneuver. So a strong opening turn, but not much else after that. Igarashi will return to the lineup and wait for his next chance to strike. Meanwhile, Colapinto with priority now sitting out in the lineup waiting for his next wave. Again, waiting for a few scores to be sorted out and fall into place. We'll give you an update on that in just a second. And just to continue with where I left off with today's schedule, we'll run semifinal 1 and 2, take a half-hour break, and then we will go into a 35-minute final. And once that final has come to its end, we will have the Hang Loose Pro 30 years anniversary award ceremony where we'll be crowning our event champion here for 2016, as well as paying homage to the event 30 years ago in 1986 that really helped inspire an entire generation of Brazilian surfers and has actually had a ripple effect throughout the building of Brazil's surfing history.
That's right. Well, we had the presence here from both world champions from Brazil, Gabriel Medina and Adriano de Souza were eliminated yesterday, but they had some good hits here, and so the show was on throughout the week. But you can check for yourself the crowds here in Joaquina. And I'll tell you what, on the way here, I had to stop in the hills there because the line from the cars trying to get in the parking lot is huge. Anyways, conditions are still basically the same. The swell has moved in a little bit towards the inside, so I believe the surfers will be catching a lot of waves today because remember that we are running 30-minute heats. There it is, Kanoe Igarashi.
Igarashi cracks one off the top. Nice climb there and floats the section before the wave shuts down. So Igarashi staying busy. He's got the advantage still right now over Colapinto as scores finally starting to filter in. Again, the judges had a lot to sort out upstairs in the tower. 6.67 for the opening wave of Igarashi. Here's a look at the replay, his most recent effort.
That's right. Well, he started with a little floater over through that section, and then he finished with a re-entry there, and that is going to be his 5th ride, I believe. Meanwhile, Blue has priority out there.
So again, waiting for the latest scores to come in, but at the moment, Igarashi sitting on a 6.67, looking to replace a 3.67 as a backup score. Meanwhile, Griffin Colapinto opened up with a 3.33, followed it with a much stronger 6.77. Now just waiting for some more scores to finalize. At the moment, Colapinto needs a 3.90 to take away that lead from Kanoa Igarashi. Again, these guys battling it out for a spot in the finals. And, already to this point, these guys have helped themselves out huge in regards to the rankings. Again, we had mentioned Kanoa Igarashi came in ranked 8th, now up to 3rd in the QS rankings. And as for Griffin Colapinto, he finished 147th last year. We'll get back to him in a moment. Igarashi right back to it.
Yeah, he climbed over the phone there and tried for the nair again, but he goes down, unfortunately. So he will pedal back out and try again. Well, Colapinto has priority, and Colapinto scored a 6.77. There's the replay.
Here's a look at Igarashi. Foam climb there to get around the section. And chucks out the reverse. Again, having a little trouble staying glued to his board so far here in the early going. So that will be a throwaway score for him. He's already sitting on a 6.67. His previous wave of 4.0 increased his margin of advantage over Colapinto by a little bit. There you can see Colapinto out the back. As I was saying, Griffin last year finished 147th on the QS at 17 years old. Now here he is a year later, 18 years old, another year wiser. He came into this event ranked 73rd, and with this result, so far, he has already moved up to 40th. So, he's really making some moves, really catching people's attention with his performance here in the south of Brazil.
That's right. Well, Colapinto now is sitting out there. He's got priority, so that's an advantage for him because they are pretty much sitting around each other with a very small margin between 10.67 and 10.10. So everything can change here very quickly as soon as a wave gets ridden. There it is, blew up and riding.
Colapinto eyeing up this right-hander. Nice opening snap off the top, slides the tail. Now wrapping turn to follow before he kicks out. So a short wave there as it died down and shouldered off on him. So he'll head back to the lineup and wait for that score to come in. Again, sitting on a 6.77 as a high score, looking to get rid of a 3.33 as a backup, and here's the replay. Nice opening fan off the top, and now wraps it here. And unfortunately, as soon as he resets his line, this thing just dies out on him.
That's right, but what a clean style from this kid from California. He's only 18 years old, remember, and he's competing up against the best surfers on the planet. So brilliant job done by this kid here on the 6th day of this event. Well, Igarashi, not to mention, is also 19 years old. So both of these kids, I should say, because they are over their teens, are doing a brilliant job. So there it is, Kanoa Igarashi from Huntington Beach, California.
Yeah, and I would imagine right now there's a lot of people back in Southern California tuning in early on this Sunday morning to watch these two kids battle it out. Next generation SoCal surfers battling it out here in the semifinal, squaring off against one another. And we've said it time and time again, but these two have really been the class of the field, along with the guys we're going to see come up in the second semifinal. They've been dropping the biggest scores, the biggest combined heat totals. We've seen Igarashi drop a couple of 9s through the course of competition, and we've seen Colapinto get really radical with his aerial maneuvers. We'll see if these guys are able to pull out the stops and dial in here as we watch Igarashi open with a strong snap there, but not much else as he kicks out the back.
Wow, Igarashi is having his wave count there. He had a good slash there, but then the wave kind of faded away, so he decided to pedal back out. He knows that there wasn't much potential there. There he is, red. That is Igarashi checking with the lip there, but then the wave kind of didn't cooperate with him. So there he is, paddling back out. He's going to join Colapinto in the lineup, but if a wave approaches, Colapinto has right of way because he's got priority with 14 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock.
Well, we've seen a little bit of a change in the swell, as you mentioned, really not seeing that outside section to get those first opening couple of turns. So it is pushed more to the inside, and it seems like as the swell has changed, the competitors are having to feel things out a little bit more first thing in the morning. So it's almost like, if you want to use scientific terms, it's a bit of a litmus test out here right now. And unfortunately, with semifinal number one, these kids are kind of the guinea pigs feeling it out in the first heat of the day. It just so happens the first heat happens to be semifinal number one.
Well, Red is getting busy there with a quick floater only to round up this wave. So he will again rejoin his rival there. They are probably friends, but check the floater he does here through that little section in the shore break, in the inside section of Joaquina.
A nice little rock and roll floater action on that one. As you could see, while he was floating the board, rocking it back and forth, a little transitioning there as he worked his way through that maneuver. There are certain old school surfing maneuvers that are still very much relevant in this day and age. And you know what? A little flair of style there with the rock and roll floater.
Wow, it seems like there's a set approaching, and Colapinto is paddling out and maybe try his luck towards that middle section there, but maybe not. We were speaking about his approach. Igarashi comes from Huntington Beach. There is a live action, I believe.
Big snap off the top, resets his line, carves it back, and he's going to be able to get a strong finish as he snaps it off the top there and bangs out a solid ride there. 3 good turns on that wave. That should definitely help improve his overall combined heat total as he'll be looking to get a good score. Here's the replay.
Wow.
Big bang off the top there again. Nice carving turn there, fans it out, and then snaps off the end section. And again, a nice wave there from Kanoa Igarashi as he's looking to replace a 4.0 as a backup score.
That's right. Such a technical surfer, Igarashi, because you could see there on the replay when he was going for that second turn that he hit it really hard, but then very quickly he released his back foot from his tail pad to come back with speed and then finish off with the re-entry there. So brilliant job.
There it is, an 8.17, the highest scoring wave of the heat so far. Igarashi increases his advantage. Colapinto sitting in the second spot. And he has priority right now. He needs to put that to use as now he's looking for an 8.08. So he's got to better everything he's got on his score sheet thus far if he's going to overtake Igarashi. We're already down to 11:40 remaining in this 30-minute heat. So just like that, the first 2/3 of this heat pretty much have vanished into thin air, and these guys, you know, Colapinto has been choosing a little more selectively. Here he is up and riding.
Watch this kid because he's got the skills to fly. He was flying over here yesterday in Joaquina Beach, but Igarashi, what a brilliant competitive surfer this guy is.
Well, you can see with Colapinto his body language as he kicked out the back on that last wave, not really offering up anything to him. He took off hoping it would line up for him, and it just did not set up and give him anything to work with. So promptly kicking out and heading back to the lineup. Unfortunately, he gives up priority in the process, so he continues to hunt for some more substantial waves, while Igarashi has stayed very busy out in the lineup, has almost twice as many waves ridden, and as a result, he's been able to suss out those better scoring rides.
Wow. Igarashi comes from Huntington Beach, and it seems like the conditions of Joaquina really suit his style of surfing because he has done very well since his start here on round 2 because he dropped huge scores, I should say, since his start here at the Hang Loose Pro. Here we have a set approaching. He's got priority.
And Igarashi opts for the right-hander, as we had some split peak action going on there, chucks out the tail, little air 180, slides it around, brings it back underneath him, drives down the line for speed, a quick little float, and then kicks out. So Igarashi staying busy on the right-hander. It looked like Colapinto was up on the left-hander. We'll see if he was able to put together anything on that as we watch Igarashi paddle back out to the lineup. So, again, it looked like we had a little split peak action go down there. We stayed with Igarashi. There you can see Colapinto paddling back out. And the waves actually seem to be picking up a little bit consistency-wise. Some more sets starting to roll through. It looks like there's a few waves starting to try to stand up on the outside. Maybe we'll see these guys have the opportunity to dial into some better waves as we get into the back third of this heat.
That's right. The infamous inside of Joaquina Beach starts to show off as you watch Igarashi throw that tail release there, and it was, I believe it's going to be, there is the replay.
Here's the replay of Igarashi again, a quick little jam off the top, and then chucks out the tail, goes fins out, brings it around 180 style, and then resets his line, driving for speed, floats that section, and then kicks out as it got small and shut down on him there at the end. Not a lot to work with. Meanwhile, here you see the VIP lounge, the surfers area, everybody watching intently as we've got two of the Final Four competitors left in the field out in the water battling it out right now in semifinal number one. And, it's been an intense week here. We've had no shortage of last-minute finishes, some drama to spice things up, and some big performances, some major scores pulled out. And for the guys out in the water right now, I mean, the wave conditions very similar to some of the breaks they have back home in California. We've heard both of them say on several occasions in post-heat win interviews that, very reminiscent of, some of the waves you see at like Huntington Beach and a few other places around Southern California, San Clemente area. So these guys know how to get the job done. They know what to look for. And after a week of competing here, they know how to dial into the waves when they have the opportunity.
Wow. Nice words there, explaining everything about these Californian kids and what an amazing job they have put here, because here they are in the semifinals. And remember, we had a strong field of competition over this whole week here, even with a couple of world champions. So these kids have done a great job indeed.
Yeah, we've seen these kids drop 8s and 9s in their earlier heats to advance on, take heat wins. I mean, yesterday I believe we saw Igarashi and Colapinto win heats twice during the course of the competition yesterday. And again, some really impressive performances from these young kids. And not to overlook the guys we're going to see in the next heat. David Silva has looked really impressive. Jadson Andre, very impressive as well. He had to pull out all the stops just to be able to take out Adriano de Souza. Dialed up at 9.67 in the process, the biggest score of the event so far, with a huge air reverse on a left to the outside, and then finished off strong with a couple of big turns on the inside reform section. So, all four of these guys, can't say enough about the performances they've put forth and the amount of work they've put into this event.
Yes, I remember that Jadson, he took that ride in the dying minutes of the heat, so he was behind, and then all of a sudden he started coming back on the heat, and by the time the horn sounded, he was the winner, and he took out the current world champion. So we just watched a glimpse of him collecting his jersey there with the beach marshal, and he was getting ready there with his board and backup board. So Jadson is a very experienced surfer himself. He has won a event from the CT Tour in Brazil. That's the only victory he has in Imbituba when the event was held down here in the south. Meanwhile, we have some action coming. There's a set approaching.
5:40 left on the clock. Some waves starting to roll through on the outside. Again, Igarashi continues to lead the way. He has a 6.67 and an 8.17 to pace the field. Colapinto looking to try and play catch-up here. Igarashi up and riding again, trying to pad his score. Nice vertical snap off the top. Goes vertical again as he snaps again. and now setting up the inside, bangs it off the end section. So again, Kanoa Igarashi staying really busy, has a couple of strong scores, but he's not content to just sit back and, let those scores ride as he continues to do work. Here's the replay.
Amazing technique put on show here in Joaquina Beach from this kid. Check how fast he goes into that little left, and then he finishes off with a re-entry, controls the nose not to, because believe me, it's very, very shallow where he finished that move right there. So, well, I believe he's going to have another nice score, but he's got the lead, and Colapinto is sitting out there with priority, though.
Yeah, so far through the majority of this heat, as we're already down to 4:30 left to battle it out here in semifinal number 1. We've seen these kids adjust to the conditions. They haven't really had the big air bowl sections to break out the reverse or any other aerial maneuvers. But, they're still figuring out how to get the big scores, going to the big turns, surfing with a lot of style and power. And, in the case of Igarashi, that 8.17, the 6.67, he's finding the sections, getting in, at least 3 strong turns and getting the scores from the judges as a result.
Yes, well, I don't know if he's going to change one of his scores, because that's the judge's job up there. There you watch Jadson Andre running there on the beach. He's probably looking for something from his equipment. Anyways, Igarashi is paddling out there. He's got the lead, and a strong lead it is, because at 14.84, now Colapinto needs an excellent ride to get 8.08 to overtake the lead.
The thing to keep in mind, Colapinto has that 6.77, which is very similar to the 6.67 of Kanoa Igarashi. Only needs an 8.08. We've seen him knock out scores in that range throughout his earlier heats. All he really needs is one good wave to go to work on, and he could very easily catch up to and or overtake Igarashi in the last 3 minutes of this heat. Here he is, up and riding, see what he can do.
Strong off the top backside, then he floats through that section. Another hit off the top, but then he couldn't quite hold it there. So, unfortunately for Colapinto, that was it for him. So we'll show you the replay right there.
Here's a look. Drops in on this. Nice opening turn there. Quick stab as he climbs the section. Snaps there, but then gets caught up and falls behind the wave. That's probably not going to help him very much. Time counting down. He's not giving up. One thing we've seen throughout the course of this event, there is no quit in this kid. Griffin Colapinto, doing the San Clemente surf community proud with his result here. He has battled it out. He's not giving up yet. 2 minutes remaining. There you can see he's right there with Igarashi, still trying to dial up an 8.08 with 2 minutes and counting down.
Well, he's up against the best surfers in the world, so what a great job to be in the semifinal. There are only 4 remaining surfers in this event, and it started with 144. So let's not forget about that.
From 144 down to 4 on the final day, and at the end there will be one man standing, and we'll figure that out in the next couple of hours. Meanwhile, right now, 1:30 left on the clock. Colapinto, nice opening turn there. Vertical foam climb, unfortunately, goes down, and he's still left looking for an 8.08. We'll see if he can seek that out and attain that score with the time remaining. But right now, that man in red, Kanoa Igarashi, leads the way, has priority. And the window of opportunity for Griffin Colapinto to punch his way into the final, that window is slowly closing. He's still not done yet. There he is. He's pretty much back out in the lineup. Still has time to swing around and catch one more wave if it rolls his way. But at the moment, still trying to fight for that score. Here's a look at his most recent effort.
Wow. The first off the top he did there was very good, but then the wave kind of closed out on him, and he was a bit too late for that re-entry. But anyways, he has done a very, very good job, this kid, believe me, because in the earlier rounds, he was, there's a set
approaching.
approaching.
Here we go, set coming in. Colapinto taking a look at this. And Igarashi was going to let him go, but Colapinto couldn't scratch into it. 18 seconds counting down. And just to point out, the last wave of Igarashi was a 6.67. Already had a 6.67 earlier in the heat, so he tosses that one out the window. Maintains the lead, though, and there you can see Griffin has conceded the heat as time runs out, paddles over. Quick little high five with Kanoa Igarashi. You know what? He may have gone down here in semifinal number 1, but a very, very impressive performance here in Florianopolis for Griffin Colapinto. He turned a lot of heads this week with his performances out in the water, and he definitely helped himself out. Like I said, came into this event ranked 73rd. With his performance, gets to the semifinals, moves up to 40th in the speed rankings. So, kudos to Colapinto and congratulations to Kanoa Igarashi. He moves on to the final. We're going to take a quick commercial break, pay a few bills. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the final day of competition here at the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro. Out in the water, just underway, semifinal, heat number 2. Give us the breakdown, Decio.
David Silva will be wearing red up against Jadson Andre. So great champions we have there. Those 2 Brazilians have won events here in Brazil. Remember last year, the winner from this Key West 6000 was this young man, David Silva, and what a humble man and good surfer he is. Meanwhile, Jadson Andre, you saw there, well, there is a replay from, we didn't catch the action there, that is David Silva.
While we were away at commercial break, getting things started, David Silva on this wave. Nice snap off the top, chucking buckets out the back, bangs it off the end section there, and a good opening wave there for David Silva. We'll wait for that score to come down the pipe. Meanwhile, priority moves to the hands of that man in the blue jersey, Jadson Andre. His gutsy performance against Adriano de Souza yesterday in the round of 16 helped propel him here to the semifinal appearance on the final day of competition here at Praia de Joaquina. And now just waiting for him to get into action. And as we can see, looks like the outside is starting to stand up a little bit more and give these guys something to play with. This should set up some good, solid conditions for the final, as well as some good conditions here. And Jadson Andre going right to it there. You can see knifing that end section. Looking strong, picking up where he left off yesterday.
He's lightning fast, Jadson Andre, ranked 58th here on the Key West. He's 26 years old. He stands 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighs in 144 pounds. And he's a goofy foot from Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, all the way on the northeast of Brazil.
Well, he came into this event ranked 58th. With his result here so far, he's up to 29th. Here you see the opening wave on the replay. Nice vertical attack to start and bangs it off the end to finish. A good wave there. And David Silva back to it, trying to air it out, chucks out the reverse, but can't keep his board beneath him. So he will gather up his equipment and make his way back out to the lineup. Priority now to Jadson Andre as he waits for his second wave. A 5.67 rather on the opening wave of David Silva. Here's a look at his most recent score.
Yes, he was trying to take it to the air there with a lot of speed, but couldn't finish. So he's paddling back out. He will have plenty of time because we still have 26 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Meanwhile, Jadson Andre also caught a very quick left there, but he knifed it with 2 very strong, quick moves. So he's paddling back out, and Jadson has also, as we mentioned before, he has also won a CT event here in Imbituba when the World Tour was held here in the south of Brazil before they moved the event over to Rio in 2011. So Jadson André is not we got, Marcos Bocaiúva with the winner from last heat.
Chatting with Jake Pedersen. Oh, my God, man. All Orange County affair up north, representing Huntington Beach, Canoa Igarashi, and representing San Clemente, Griffin Colapino. Oh, my God, a super tough heat. You managed to pull some speed from where, man?
Yeah, that was a fun heat. I've been competing with Griffin for, a lot of my life, and he's a really good surfer, and we're staying together. We're in the same room where I can pretty much touch his bed from where I'm sleeping. So, yeah, it was pretty funny at dinner and stuff last night. But yeah, I have a really good board right now. It's an epoxy, and I guess that's why I was going fast.
Yeah, epoxy is super cool for small waves. And what you assess right now, chatting with Jake Pedersen? How can he put your more shot?
Well, we got a set approaching, and Reddy's up and riding. That is David Silva with a good floater off the top that wave, and then a quick snap there, and he finishes off with a re-entry on the shore break. Wow, what an amazing job done by these kids.
And here we go, Jadson Andre, big smack off the top, jabs that end section as we catch the end of this wave. Sorry to cut you off, Decio, but we've got waves coming and going super fast, rapid fire succession, and Jadson came flying on our screen right after the end of that David Silva wave. We'll see if we can cue up the replay and give you the start of that wave. But David Silva, Jadson Andre going back to back. Again, these guys wasting no time going at each other out there, battling it out, trading wave after wave in an effort to try and earn passage to the final here at the Hang Loose Pro. Here's a look at the replay for David.
Yeah, he floats through that section with a lot of speed for another snap and a quick climb over the phone there to finish things well. And that is the ride from Jadson, strong off the top there, and he finishes with a very quick re-entry. Well, those waves have been ridden while Marcos Bocaiúva was finishing his interview with the winner, Canoa Igarashi. So what a nice kid, polite, and he's so smart at 19 years old on the CT Tour already. So how's that, Steve?
Canoa Igarashi continues to impress, and you know what? At this young age, he's already riding beyond his years. It'll be interesting to see how he progresses as he gets into his 20s. It seems like this kid's setting himself up for a long, bright future on the championship tour. Just needs to be a little bit more consistent at the championship tour level. But here in the QS, the kid knows how to get the job done. We saw him do it last year. We're watching him do it again this year, and more specifically right here at this event, as he's already jumped up 5 spots in the rankings, and now he's in the final with a shot to take the win. Here in the south of Brazil. Last year he won up in the northeast of Brazil in Itacaré prior to Tiririca, and now trying to knock out a win here prior to Joaquina in the south. This kid, seems to be dialed into the waves of Brazil when he comes down to South America.
That's right. He trains in Huntington Beach, California when he's home, but he's been around the world for quite a few years now through QS events and also CT. But now he's here in Joaquina Beach going up against, he just won his heat, so he's going to go up against one of these surfers. Maybe this man here in red.
Silva cranks off the bottom, bangs a big snap off the top. Now another quick turn, and he tries to stomp into an inside reform that just isn't there. Meanwhile, again, back-to-back, Silva with the wave. Jadson Andre follows directly thereafter. So, these guys unrelenting out in the water right now. We've only seen, the first few minutes burn off the clock, and these guys wasting no time getting a handful of waves ridden. I mean, the pace has definitely picked up in this second semifinal.
Yes. Well, remember, this is the 30th anniversary of the Hang Loose Pro Contest, and that year, the conditions cooperated with the surfers since day one, and we have the same here. Wow.
Here's a look at the replay. Nice vertical snap off the top. Another vertical approach, big slash, fans it out. And, a wrapping turn here, making a rain out the back. One last stab off the end section. And that's going to be another solid score, 5.83 to go with his 7.0. And here's the replay of David Silva.
Yes, David had a good off the top there to start things with, but then he couldn't quite hold his second move, and he pedaled back out.
So just to run through the scores right now, as I mentioned, a 7.0 and a 5.83 for Jadson Andre. He leads the way. David Silva with an opening score of 5.67, now looking to replace a 4.0. He needs a 7.16 or better to move ahead of Jadson. And at the moment, Silva has priority. We'll see if he's able to put that to good use when the next set of waves rolls through.
Well, he proved all throughout the event that he can come back from any heat. And, well, he's done very well here before. Remember, he won the QS 6000 event last year. And here he is on heat number 2, going up against Jadson Andre, who's got a well, it's not a small margin, but he wins by 3.16. So, as Steve mentioned before, Dave needs a good score, 7.16, to overtake the man in blue.
So these guys have gotten busy since the starting horn and don't seem to be letting up. Also, it seems like Mother Nature's helping things out a little bit as waves are rolling through more consistently and actually starting to stand up a little bit on the outside for these guys. So some slightly more consistent conditions here in semi number 2 as opposed to semi number 1. Meanwhile, speaking of semi number 1, there you can see Griffin Colapinto posing for photos. This kid has really caught a lot of people's attention with his performance here at this event. Definitely someone to look forward to watching in the future, someone to keep an eye on. As there you can see, he gets security escort up to the event tower. This kid, I mean, he's got to be stoked right now. Obviously, he would have liked to have made the final, but to have made the run he did here at this event, very, very impressive for the young 18-year-old from Orange County, California.
Yes, well, he will walk away with some good points and some cash. So there he is, happily walking through the VIP area with his stick there. He says hello to his friends, and I'm sure he's happy, even though he lost to his countryman Kanoa Igarashi, who also had a brilliant ride over here in this contest.
And I tell you what, on a personal note, if I can go on a little aside, as a fan of wave riding, I love seeing what we've got here at this final. Being an American from the U.S. East Coast, I love to see the Cali boys do well. But also as a resident of Brazil, I love to see the Brazilians getting results on their home turf. So to see 2 Californians, 2 Brazilians, the last 4 guys in this event to start off the final day, I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, I love seeing the international guys spice things up and make life interesting for the entire field of competition. But as a surfing fan, being from the East Coast of the U.S., but living here in Brazil, I love to see the Americans and the Brazilians being the guys, last guys standing in a competition.
World Surf League. Well, by the name we can judge. We have surfers from all nationalities there on the screen. You see Matheus Herdy, João Godoy, and the local kids. They're frothing to be here.
Well, I tell you what, this kid's another one I've really enjoyed watching this week. He won the trials, had a pretty solid run through the early rounds of this event, and he's been cruising this contest every day, smile on his face, usually a cup of acai in hand, and just taking it all in. That kid's got a really bright future in the world of competitive surfing.
Remember, he's got DNA blood in because his uncle, all his family, they are very good surfers in the names of Guilherme Herdy, who's a pipe master. He has been in a final of the Pipe Masters, so they are great tuba riders. Also, Arthur Herdy and Alexandre, his dad. So, he's got a very good generation going up against him. You can see they're all here. Mateus Navarro from Oakley team is also here with his friends. So this kid hails from Camboriú too, so he lives on the state of Santa Catarina. Meanwhile, Jadson Andre is winning from David Silva, who's got priority.
Counting down, 6:35 left on the clock. Jadson Andre continues to lead the way on the strength of a 7.0 and a 5.83. So he threw away his opening score and is sitting on the 2 scores he's had since then. He leads the way over David Silva, who's sitting out there with priority, has a 5.67 and a 4.0. He's in need of a 7.16. And, we started off really fast in this heat, and it's gotten a little quiet since then, a little bit of a lull. We've had a few minutes pass by without any waves ridden. Now it looks like the ocean is going to stir a little bit as we have some swell lines rolling in on the horizon.
Wow, Joaquina is providing the goods for all of these kids since day one. That's amazing because we only stopped on Thursday due to the strong south wind that blowed since the night before. But conditions have been really impressive here since day one.
It's a very consistent break here. We've had waves every day of this event, a couple of different swells. We started off with one. Then we had that stormy Thursday where it was basically victory at sea out there. Heavy winds, hard rains, and we had to call a lay day, but we've had waves every day since. Very rippable, and these guys, dropping some big scores along the way. Again, as we mentioned, Jadson Andre yesterday during the round of 16, we saw him dial in a 9.67, the biggest score of the event. So there's some scoring potential out there. It's just waiting for these guys to put the combination of wave and rider together for a big score at any possible moment.
Consider that he took that score only to beat Adriano de Souza Mineirinho, the current world champion. There is an image from the VIP area where Mateus is sitting around his friends. You can see they got comfortable seats here provided by the Hang Loose Pro Contest and the World Surf League.
Lots of people gathered here in the VIP area as well as down on the beach, all eyes on the action. Everybody eager to see who's going to come out on top in this event. Obviously, the Brazilians here in force to see if one of their fellow countrymen can lay claim to the win here. We'll see which one of these two guys will square off against Kanoa Igarashi in the final. Regardless, I think it's safe to say we're going to see a pretty intense battle out in the water, as all of the guys that we're seeing in the semifinals today have really distinguished themselves as the class of the field. And, it's always good to see the best of the best make it to the end, make it to the final day and battle it out in the final. There you can see David Silva, as we've mentioned time and again through the course of the event. He is the defending Santa Catarina QS6000 champion. And he's out here in the semis looking to repeat and make it 2 finals in a row, 2 years in a row.
Yes, before this event, he was ranked 14th in the QS, so he shall improve into that condition, and he will move out of Joaquina with some good points to add to his tally, and he will go with a good margin going over to the Hawaiian Islands.
Yes, David Silva moving up to 11th at this point in the QS rankings, now right there on the bubble, improving his situation, improving his odds of trying to qualify for the championship tour in 2017. Also, there you can see on screen, waiting, holding the lead, Jadson Andre. He came in ranked 58th. He's already moved up to 29th in the qualification series rankings. So all of these guys really helping their own cause with a strong run here at the Hang Loose Pro.
Well, that's right. Remember, Jadson is a CT surfer, a very experienced surfer himself, because he's been, on that tour for at least 6 years. This is the 2016 Hang Loose Pro. And as we mentioned before, he won an event in his first year in 2010 in Brazil.
Yeah, and this is kind of an insurance policy for Jadson. He currently sits 21st on the CT going into the last event of the year, the Pipe Masters. And, if he can if he can't qualify directly off of results from the CT, he can try and re-qualify through the qualification series. So, we see a lot of guys do this year in and year out. It's like if they're right there at the edge of the cutoff for the championship tour, make sure to dial in some good results on the qualification series so that it's a backup plan for these guys.
Yes, that's a very good system that the World Surf League runs with the qualifying series
preparing the surfers to get into the CT. There it is. There's a paddle. That's him, the man in blue.
Jadson driving down the line, chucks out the reverse, but cannot complete the landing before sliding off the back. So now that Jadson Andre has the lead, now looking for some air sections, and here's the replay driving down the line. All eyes on that section, chucks out the reverse, but doesn't get the rotation down, lands on the top of the wave and slides off the back. He will maintain the lead, but paddle back out to the lineup looking for something a little more substantial. Meanwhile, David Silva remains out the back with priority, waiting for his opportunity to strike back, looking to dig up a 7.16 to try and take the lead away from Jadson Andre. And just to give everybody a quick rundown of the ranking system, for the championship tour, the top 34 are made up of the top 22 finishers on the CT rankings and the top 10 from the qualification series rankings, as well as 2 WSL wildcards. They comprise the top 34, and that's what we'll see next year. So right now, guys here at this QS event, as well as the remaining events in Hawaii, will be trying to dial in the best results possible to add to their top 5 results for the year to try and finish in the top 10 and qualify for the championship tour in 2017. And right now, all of these guys really helping their position in the rankings. Not all of them in contention for a top 10 finish, but looking to get the best result possible by year's end.
That's right. Well, this is a QS event, but remember, we also had 2 wild cards here, and one of them was Mateus Herdy, who came through with a win in the finals of the trials from Joaquina Beach. So not only on the CT Tour, which has 32 surfers plus 2 wild cards, Key West events also offer this opportunity for young up-and-comers. But now it's up to Jadson.
Jadson on an inside right-hander pumping down the line for speed, chucks out the nose pick reverse, gets the rotation. That's what he was looking for on the previous wave, nails it down on this wave. Now David Silva taking a look at this left-hander.
Wow, he takes off, does a strong snap only to fall off right after that. His feet kind of slipped there from his tail pad, and, well, he's paddling back out.
So there you go, quick wave exchange from Jadson Andre and David Silva. Here's Andre driving down the line, pumping for speed there, chucks out the reverse. I said nose pick reverse. I'm just going to go with air reverse because he got completely out, got the rotation. Nice wave there for Jadson Andre.
Wow. I believe this is live action or not. Yes, it is.
Yeah, David Silva taking a look at another left-hander on the inside. He's still paddling back out, but gave thought to swinging around and grabbing one of those little insiders. As we've seen on occasion, some of those inside left-handers bowl up and offer up an air section. Again, David Silva trying to come up with a 7.16 right now if he's going to catch up with Jadson Andre, who has priority. So maybe, sneaking off to the inside and trying to pull one underneath from Jadson Andre. Not a bad idea.
Wow, that's right. But Red has got second priority, and he's paddling over his countryman, Jadson Andre. He's looking for something because he is in need of a 7.16, so he has to catch that before the end of this heat to make it to the final, which he did last year. So David Silva looks very calm, and he's a short, stocky built kid. And believe me, if the opportunity is given, he will take it, and he will make it because he's got strong skills, this young surfer from Guarujá, Brazil.
And as we count down, 7:25 left on the clock, there you can see Jadson Andre starting to shadow David Silva a little bit. Jadson has priority, but then lets up a little, gives David some breathing room. One of the great things with man-on-man priority, it may cut down on the hassling and the interference, but it's still a bit of a chess match mentally out there, as the person holding priority can use that to grab the wave that he needs, or he can use it to block. And for the person without priority, there are things you can do to work around it. Like we saw previously, David Silva was contemplating sneaking off into the inside and grabbing one of those inside bowls while Jadson Andre sat on the outside. So again, a bit of a chess match out there between these two, a mental game, if you will. And it's always fun to see how these heats play out because each heat obviously very different from the previous.
Yes, David Silva just took off on a very small right-hander there, and he pedals back out since there was not much on offer. But well, he doesn't have first priority, so he can take any wave he wants, but not Jadson's. Jadson's got the lead so far in this heat. 6 minutes and 10 seconds to go here at the Hang Loose Pro Contest 2016. It's a 30th anniversary from this contest, and it's now this year held here in Joaquina Beach, as it was 30 years ago. But this contest has moved all over Brazil.
Yeah, it may have relocated all over Brazil, but over the course of the last 30 years, the Hang Loose Pro has been there as a fixture for WSL South America. And here we are with the Hang Loose Pro back up there as a qualification series event for the World Surf League. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to experience this wave, watch these guys battle it out in the water. And, you know, it's almost a shame that the event has to come to an end, but we are on the last day of the event window, and we will be crowning our champion today. Jadson Andre hoping he's that guy as he opens up. Nice float for the section. Foam climb there, and then snaps it off the end. Another strong wave from Jadson Andre. He's been pretty consistent out here. You know, he's had a couple of waves, obviously, that haven't gone his way and trying to air it out at times, but he's looked very strong overall. Here's the replay.
Yes, he looks very fit on top of his board, and strong, very fast, quick moves there when he stands. Since the time he stands up from the end of the ride, wow, this kid is doing really well, and I believe his physical condition is helping him because he's been competing here since day 2, which was Wednesday when the seated surfers started. He's up against David Silva, who now has priority, so let's watch what he can do. He needs a 7.16 with 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining for the heat.
Well, as you mentioned, David Silva still trying to catch up to Jadson Andre. Meanwhile, Jadson getting right back to it, takes off on this insider, chucks out the air 180, but cannot bring it back around. Just got caught up in the whitewater, not enough forward momentum to carry him through that maneuver. So that will be a throwaway score. Here's the replay real quick. Again, chucks out the tail, comes down, sticks to the landing, but as he tries to bring it around, it just gets caught up and lost behind the whitewater. And now David Silva into action. Big bang off the top, slams that oncoming end section, and nice wave there for David Silva. We'll see if this helps improve his overall combined heat score. Again, he's still sitting on a 5.67 and 4.0. Here's the replay.
Wow, strong off the top there just to finish with the re-entry. But it was a very short ride. I don't know if that is going to get him a 7-point ride. That's the job from the judges. But with 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go, time is running out for David. He must make a move soon because Jadson Andre is walking away with the victory so far here into the final.
Yeah, with 2 maneuvers on that wave, David Silva hard-pressed to try and dial up that 7.16 he needs. But I'm thinking he may very well be able to replace that 4.0 as a backup score, build his combined heat total, and cut the deficit. And from early indicators, he is going to do just that, as this should improve his standing out in the water with 2:35 left on the clock. And, there it is, a 5.50 to go with this 5.67. He still needs a 7.16, but he does increase his overall combined heat total, which can help build a little confidence and be like, all right, now I'm starting to get into a groove. Now if I can just find a wave where I can get, that extra turn or two and maximize my scoring potential, I have a shot at this.
Yes, he does. Wow, a 7.16 score is not so hard for this young man. He throws some big scores over the course of this event. There's Jadson Andre.
Jadson slices off that inside section, goes for the quick lip jam, throwing the board vertical and just can't stick the landing. Meanwhile, Silva quick up and down ride as he's feeling it out. He's still trying to dial into something more to his liking. Again, he needs a 7.16, 140 left on the clock. Time counting down, becoming a major factor as Silva doesn't have a whole lot of time to work with. He's outside still with priority, looking for something, anything at this point to take a shot at that 7.16 score he needs to get from the judges.
Well, we have seen before heats changing over the last minute, so everything is possible because all he needs to move into first is a good set wave, and with 1 minute and 10 seconds, he's got time still. So David is there. I'm sure he's a little bit nervous because he knows that time is running out. There he is checking this, I believe. Well, he doesn't have priority, or he does. Yes, he had it, but he chose not to go. And also Judson had a look there, but decided not to yet, like him.
Yeah, 45 seconds remaining, and you could see Jadson Andre was taking a sniff, didn't like what he smelled on that one, decides to head back to the lineup and just kind of keep himself as a presence with David Silva. Meanwhile, 30 seconds left on the clock, set rolling in. Silva with priority, paddling over, looking to scrap his way into this wave as he gets into position and then decides to let it roll on through as that wave is just going to shut down on the inside. And that, wow. This is getting tense. 14 seconds left on the clock. Silva desperate to get one last shot at Jadson Andre. We've got swell lines on the horizon, corduroy stacking up on the outside, and time, not on Silva's side. Time is going to expire before any of those waves roll in, and a bit of a frustrating end for Silva. He will finish with equal third in this event. Again, improving his position, moving up to 11th in the standings. He will finish with equal third, 3,550 points. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. This is the final day of the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro, the 30th anniversary here at Praia de Joaquina, and we have just wrapped up the semifinals. There you can see semifinal number 2 winner, Jadson Andre, working his way to a finals appearance here in Florianopolis, Santa Catarina, located in the south of Brazil. This is a QS 6,000 event. The winner will take away 6,000 points and a paycheck for $25,000 US. So, a lot on the line here at this event. And we have set our final again. Jadson Andre earning passage through semi number 2 and winning semifinal number 1. It was Kanoa Igarashi. So we've got the California kid against the Brazilian veteran slated for the final. We'll be getting that set up and ready to go in a little while as we take a quick break to let these guys catch their breath, rehydrate, refocus, and then grab their contest penny and make their way out to the lineup to battle it out to see who will be crowned the 2016 Hang Loose Pro champion and lay claim to those 6,000 points and the paycheck of $25,000. Again, there you can see Jadson continues his way up to the tower. Security escort in tail, and lots of people gathering here on the beach on this Sunday morning, only 10:30 local time, and we've already got a pretty solid crowd as people continue to pour in, trying to get here in time to watch the final. It's going to be, again, Kanoa Igarashi against Jadson Andre. And it seems appropriate that these two have made it to the final. Jadson with his 9.67 yesterday, scoring the highest score of the event. Meanwhile, Kanoa Igarashi has been very consistent, scoring in the excellent range. He's dropped a pair of 9s along the way through the field of competition over the last several days. And, these guys, obviously the class of the field, they've performed consistently enough and on a high basis to make it here to the final. And it's going to be a very intriguing showdown once that starting horn sounds. So again, just getting things set up. And we're going to take a quick look at the highlights from the semis. Check this out. All right, so here we go with the highlights. That was the 6.77 of Griffin Colapinto. Now looking at Kanoa Igarashi. These guys battled it out in semi number 1, a battle of California kids, the 18-year-old and the 19-year-old. And now taking a look at David Silva in semifinal number 2. David had a couple of solid waves, but just could not keep pace with Jadson Andre. Here's one of his bigger scoring waves of the heat that helped move him through to the final. And Jadson looking very consistent, very strong, solid performances out in the water. Here's another look at Jadson. Again, Jadson taking to the air, getting the reverse around on that wave as we saw him work his way through semifinal number 2. Pretty much led the way throughout, and he advances on to the final. So again, solid performances from Griffin Colapinto and David Silva. They were very impressive throughout the course of this event. Unfortunately, came up a little short in the semifinals and coming out on top. Moving on to the finals again, coming up in just a little bit. We're going to go into the final where we'll see Kanoa Igarashi from Huntington Beach, California, battle it out with Jadson Andre from Rio de Norte here in Brazil. California versus Brazil in the final. Kanoa Igarashi, the young Californian, against Jadson Andre, the Brazilian vet, the CT veteran. So youth versus experience in this one. Both of these guys know how to score big and get the job done. We'll see who comes out on top of the 35-minute final in just a little bit. So again, Steve Jackson here in the commentary booth as we walk you through and get everything set up for the final. Again, taking a short break to get our riders situated, let them catch their breath, grab their contest jerseys, and get into position out in the lineup so we can set this off and get the final rolling here on the final day of competition. And again, just to look at the schedule, we work our way through this break right now. We will go into the 35-minute final, and at the conclusion, we will have our finalists make their way up the beach for the award ceremony. Right now, we're going to throw things down to a beach interview. Take it away.
How awesome is that? USA affair against Brazilian affair. Super awesome heat. 2 goofy footers on Brazilian heat, 2 regulars on the USA heat. What an amazing heat, but super tough condition. How was out there, Jadson? In Portuguese, please.
Tava bem difícil, né? O mar baixou bastante hoje, mas pelo fato da bancada aqui no estádio estar perfeita, ainda deu pra... Tá dando pra surfar bem. E tô feliz de ter chegado na final. É sempre bom chegar na final de qualquer evento, ainda mais aqui no Brasil, em frente a esse crowd é alucinante. Então, espero aí que eu consiga deixar esse título aqui no Brasil.
Backwards, super awesome to be in the final. Oh, the sandbar is pretty nice in the inside session. So he's super proud to be in the final. He's gonna try to defend our flag colors here. And your magic stick right now is the awesome time to throw your major, the size of your board. Aaron, Ricardo Martinez flying high, bro.
Eu tô com uma 5,10,5 do Ricardo Martins. Ele fez essa prancha especialmente para esse evento. Foram 2 pranchas, uma 5,10 e uma 5,10,5. 18 1/4, 2 1/4. E eu só usei a 5,10,5. Ainda não coloquei a 5,10 na água. Talvez nas condições de hoje ela iria voar, mas já que a 5,10,5 está funcionando, está dando tudo certo, o time que está ganhando.
Don't change the magic stick, 5'10 and a half. He's supposed to try to figure out if he gonna use a 5'10, but he never gonna change one that is winning. So right now, take a deep breath and then pray. All the Brazilian, fans and audience are praying for you, are cheering you. A little shout out to the boys in Portuguese back home and all over the globe, bro.
Eu queria mandar um abração para toda a galera que tá torcendo aí, principalmente para a turma de Natal, minha família, meus amigos. E, chegamos na final, começamos o evento aí bem quietinho, doente, como se quisesse nada, aí chegamos aí na final, então vamos lá tentar ganhar mais uma bateria e deixar esse título aqui no Brasil.
Our humble warrior, Mr. Jadson André. Back to you, Steve.
Great, thank you, Marcos, and congratulations again to Jadson Andre. He will be flying the Brazilian flag on home turf in the final coming up in just a little bit. Again, he will be going up against Kanoa Igarashi from the United States, coming to us from Huntington Beach, California. So SoCal versus Brazil in the final. And you know what? Both of these guys have been killing it throughout the course of the event. Really looking forward to an exciting final here. Stay tuned as we're going to see these guys battle it out. There you can see Jadson Andre going right into a procession of interviews following Marcos Bacaiuva. So Marcos doing a brilliant job down on the beach as our beach reporter. And Jadson Andre doing an excellent job out in the water, making his way to the final. We'll see if he can keep up that pace, keep up that performance level. And on the other side of things, we'll see if Kanoa Igarashi can maintain his performance level as well. Both of these guys looking very strong and now going head-to-head in the final in just a little bit. So, again, getting things set up. We should be hitting the water shortly. We're looking at about an 11 o'clock start time for the final. So roughly 20 minutes for these guys to catch their breath, answer a few questions with the media, grab their jersey assignment, get out into the water, and get ready to go into action as we get ready to set off the final here at the Hang Loose Pro. I'm Steve Jackson, rejoined here in the booth by Desi Okoto, and what a setup. Both of these guys have been extremely impressive throughout this event.
Yes, thanks, Steve. Jadson and Kanoa they both have surfed brilliantly, and we should mention here that they bring together the experience from these CT heats. Because remember, they start with the three-man round, and then they move over to man-on-man hits all the way to the finals. So they are very experienced surfers in this kind of hits, different from the QS surfers who usually surf four-man hits, which is a totally different approach because more waves get ridden, and there is also, by the way, speaking about that, it's important to note that four-man hits for the QS now also have priority.
So priority in effect for all heats across the board, whether it's four-man preliminary heats, three-man heats in the round of 24, or man-on-man heats from the round of 16 through to the final. And again, the priority system helps a lot with cutting down on interferences and paddle hassling. It also adds a little bit of a mental factor in there, as I mentioned earlier. It's sort of a chess match out there on how you use it. You know, you have to have a little strategy coming into play with the priority system. So, it makes it a little more interesting in that respect. But at the same time, it helps the riders to focus on their actual riding as opposed to having to paddle around and, hassling the guy next to them.
That's right. Well, the system actually changed in 1992 when they broke the international events into the QS, the World Qualifying Series, and the World Championship Tour. And that started that year, and it changed, and it was a big revolution for surfing, because then the CT, they called it the Dream Tour, could go only to the best locations on the planet, places like Fiji, Tahiti, even Indonesia was part of the tour one year, and also Jeffreys Bay and Hawaii, all these dream waves we have around the planet. So
then the QS could go over and capitalize and get the up-and-coming surfers from South Africa, Europe, Brazil, Japan, and bring them over onto the first league, which is the World Championship Tour.
Well, the combination of the installation of priority heats as well as the separation of the World Tour into the qualification series and the championship tour had a major effect on the sport of surfing, as you were alluding to. It really helped the progression of the sport at the professional level, as well as the amateur levels behind it, as they started to follow suit and realize, maybe 6-man heats with no priority and, 15 wave limits, scoring the top 3 waves as opposed to the top 2 nowadays. It helped evolve the sport to the next level.
It did, really. Remember, this is the 30th anniversary of the Hang Loose Pro Contest. So in 1986, I remember well because let me tell you that I was here. I was part of the event. I was working for Flávio Boabaida as a translator. And back then, not too many people could speak English here in Brazil. They were not, the whole country was a little different. Anyways, the system of the ASP back then had the trials to get the surfers to surf in the main event. And I tell you what, there were 9 days of competition on the Hang Loose in 86.
Well, you know what? On a side note, that's something else that has evolved with the sport of surfing. You see a lot more competitors, a lot more event organizers, and just people involved with the events in general that are now multilingual. The mixing of international culture and language has been, I don't want to say a side effect, but a positive step forward with the World Surf League now and the ASP back then.
That's right. Well, just to mention that these days there are so many international surfers. Wow, there's like a ceremony there, or I don't know what that is. People are lining up there on the beach for some sort of salute to the Hang Loose Pro Contest, I believe. Anyways, I remember 30 years ago we had to have translators because on the tour that year, the World Surf League, they would only speak English. That was the ASP, I'm sorry. But we had to have translators because all the international surfers must speak English. So the Brazilians were struggling a little bit because many of the competitors couldn't quite speak very well. They could get by. But anyways, these days we have webcast and you can choose there on your screen either Portuguese or English, due to the fact that there are so many international surfers here, and Brazilians and Portuguese and Japanese, even from South Africa, New Zealand, where they speak English. But anyways,
that's just a testament to how much of an influence and how much growth has been experienced by the Brazilian surfing community in general, not just the guys that are competing and traveling, but also the amount of fans that are tuning in. It has become almost a necessity to have a multilingual broadcast, having the English broadcast as well as the Portuguese broadcast, so that, you can maximize your exposure and accommodate the demographics that are tuning in to watch the surfing events. So there, we touched upon everybody down on the beach holding hands in a giant circle. And there you can see garbage bags being passed out as they're having a little bit of a beach cleanup to coincide with the event here at the Hang Loose Pro. So, not only working through surfing competition here at this event, but keeping an eye on environmental awareness as well. So, kudos to everybody down there who's grabbing a trash bag and cruising around the beach, making sure to clean up. Remember, we want to leave the beach cleaner than we found it. Leave nothing behind but footprints, please.
Very nice movement. We all totally agree with that, because that is such a nice move from these people. And thank you so much for helping to keep clean Joaquina Beach here in Florianopolis, Santa Catarina, for the Hang Loose Pro Contest. Well, we were speaking about this event 30 years ago, And the world champions from the 80s were all here in the names of Mark Richards and Wayne Bartholomew, Sean Thompson. Shane Wren, who was a 4-time runner-up, was also here. And for the kids here in Joaquina, it was something different, like larger than life, because seeing those guys live was something else. We could only spot them back then in an international surfing publication, just magazines, because that was way before cell phones, smartphones, computers, and all that. Even the judging was completely different. It was just written with a pen on a sheet there on the structure. So big difference. But now here's the Hang Loose Pro Contest 2016, and these people now are doing a beach cleaning act to keep it nice here, this place, because I'll tell you what, the waves here are very good.
So as the beach cleanup continues, as we take this brief intermission to get our finalists prepped and ready to go, just a quick reminder, maybe if we can throw the camera view back here to the booth real quick. Be sure to check out WorldSurfLeague.com, the online store. T-shirts and hats available. Hats like the one that Decio is wearing here in the booth today. You can be sure to go online and hit up the online store for World Surf League merchandise. Again, the holiday season is coming up upon us very rapidly, and why not stoke out your favorite surfer in your family, one of your friends, with some World Surf League gear online at WorldSurfLeague.com. And for those of you that are within the broadcasting area here in the Florianopolis, Santa Catarina area, cruise on down. We've got the World Surf League shop here on the beach at the setup. And, you can dial into some tank tops, hats, T-shirts, all kinds of goodies to get your hands on as, definitely time to start thinking about doing some Christmas shopping for the surfer in your life. So, again, be sure to check out WorldSurfLeague.com, the online store. Dial into some goodies and stoke out your favorite surfer.
That's right, Steve. And I'll tell you what, they have some nice clothes there and hats and all the gear for a present or a gift for a special person over the Christmas season, which is approaching. So, thank you, Shandy, for this hat. I got that from the World Surf League man in South America himself. So we have been longtime friends. Actually, he was the guy who taught me how to judge back in the 80s, and I became I was a Brazilian judge here. I wasn't on the tour like him, but I was a local judge, and I got invited to judge quite a few events overseas. So thanks, Shandy, for the hat and for all the experience you brought over to the Brazilian contingent of surfers. Not only Shandy, Renato Ickel, he was the tour manager, he has been a head judge, and he's there in Australia now. He's a World Surf League commissioner, and he helps to carry on this flag for professional surfing. So there it is, a Hang Loose Pro Contest beach cleaning. You got there the image from these people cleaning the area.
Yes, using the intermission between the semifinals and the final to kick into a little beach cleaning action here at Praia de Joaquina. This can make a big difference at your local spot. Even if you're just cruising the beach and not even at a contest, just, a free surf or a day at the beach with the family, try and pick up some of the trash around you. Leave the beach cleaner than you found it, please.
Yes, very well. Nice job done by this group of people here in Florianopolis today. It's a Sunday morning here and the beach is completely packed. I took a quick break right before and I had a look over the sand dunes and the beach, and the place is packed. There are no more available car spots at the parking lot here on the back. So if you're coming here, plan to do some walking around, because I'll tell you what, it's crowded.
Well, again, waiting to get things started with the final. Meanwhile, we have the beach cleanup in progress. There you can see a couple of people cruising around, rubber gloves on, picking up some trash, bagging it up, and trying to leave Joaquina a little cleaner than we found it when we started this week. Meanwhile, getting ready to hit the water with the final. Again, we're going to see Kanoa Igarashi go up against Jadson Andre. And I spoke briefly with Jadson at the end of the day yesterday. You know, he had a big day yesterday, advanced through some heats, including, you know, a win over Adriano de Souza in the round of 16, dialed up a 9.67 yesterday. And yesterday, he was pretty exhausted, but was almost ear to ear with his smile, just really stoked. Walking back to the hotel, he was getting a lot of congratulations from the crowd, both in Portuguese and in English. And you know what? He seemed really happy. Yeah, I was making a few phone calls and receiving congratulations by phone. And just a very happy camper yesterday. And obviously, he's got to be pretty happy today as he's advanced through the semifinals to represent Brazil in the final here at the Hang Loose Pro. Again, this is the 30th anniversary of this event, so a lot of people here in attendance, not just to compete, but also for the historical significance as well. A big part of why we saw guys like Wiggly Dantas, Adriano de Souza, Gabriel Medina here at this event. You know, CT guys that really have nothing to lose or gain by being here, but wanted to be a part of the history of this long-running, rich surfing event here in Brazil.
Well, as you mentioned that's interesting because you are from the United States, even though you reside here, but you are an American speaking to a Brazilian surfer about his performance, and that is really nice and interesting because yesterday, maybe at the same time before I went home, I had a quick chat here with Igarashi, the other surfer in this final, and I was asking him about California, Huntington Beach, his family background, and because I was very impressed by not only his surfing, but the way he speaks 4 languages, because I asked him, because all the interviews throughout the event with Bocaiúva, he had messages in English, in Portuguese, and in Japanese. So I had to stop him to congratulate him for his performances, but also asked how come he's such a scholar at 19 years old. And he said he's got family and friends all over the world. And, well, not only that, he didn't tell me, but I'm sure he's a very focused grommet, because at 19 years old, despite all the experience he's got, because he is in the CT Tour already. So I was really happy to hear from him that he speaks also Spanish. So congratulations to his family, Igarashi, for being here in this final up against Jadson Andre from Brazil.
Yeah, so again, a really interesting setup for this final. Both of these guys have done some time on the CT. Obviously, Jadson Andre, more of a veteran on the championship tour. But Igarashi at 19 years old, you know, wise beyond his years, really, just looking to become a little more consistent on the championship tour level. As you see, Kanoa Igarashi at water's edge, he does this before he enters the water for each heat, says a quick prayer at water's edge, and kind of centers himself, gets ready to focus on what he needs to get done to win the heat in front of him. And so he is getting ready to hit the water, security around him, photographers as well. And we're that much closer to jumping into the final, setting this bad boy off, and crowning our champion when all is said and done. Who will it be? Will it be the 19-year-old Californian Kanoa Igarashi, or will it be the seasoned veteran from Brazil, Jadson Andre? You know what? We're going to take a quick commercial break and get things set up. We'll be back right after this. right, welcome back to the final day of competition here at the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro. I'm Steve Jackson, joined by Desio Koto here in the English commentary booth, and we are just about to set this off. This is what we've been waiting for. Break time is over. We're about to throw into the final in just a few moments. We're going to see Kanoa Igarashi representing the United States go up against Brazilian Jadson Andre. And look at this, eager anticipation on the beach. I'm practically bouncing out of my seat waiting for this heat to get underway. So, we're that much closer waiting for Jadson Andre to jump out into the water, take his place in the lineup, and then we're going to get the ball rolling here at Praia de Joaquina.
That's right. You can see him there on the image from the drone here over at Joaquina Beach. There he's getting his board wet, ready for action on the finals. I don't think he needs the help, the assistance from the ski, but there he is. It's probably just out of camera there, and there he is, the security taking Jadson. He's probably very tired here on the 6th day of competition.
Well, a quick escort out to the lineup to expedite things. We'll get Jadson Andre positioned and ready to go, and once we have both surfers out in the competition area, we'll get the starting horn, and we'll get this party started in proper fashion.
Wow, he's sitting out there already. That was quick. So we are having the conditions here on the inside today. The swell has dropped a little bit, but still very good conditions on offer here in Joaquina, and also on the VIP area. You can check for yourself at the Hang Loose Pro Contest. This is live action from the finals. Kanoa Igarashi up against Jadson Andre.
So again, both riders in position, ready to get things started here with this 35-minute final. There's the breakdown. Kanoa Igarashi in red, Jadson Andre in blue. 35-minute final just underway. It's go time for both of these guys.
Wow, there is a set approaching, so they will get start right now, I believe, because they can catch as many waves as they want. So in the beginning, they usually don't waste too much time until they get their first wave. But, well, there it is. Red Igarashi is paddling. Also, blue is having a look. But I believe it's Igarashi up and riding.
Igarashi drawing first blood. Nice quick snap off the top to open. Bangs it again for good measure. And slashes off that end section. And now we'll kick out. So Igarashi getting on the board first. Now we'll wait to hear from Jadson Andre.
Wow, very nice style from this kid. I'm sorry, I must tell you, I'm a fan of this young grommet there because he draws amazing lines even into this little left here in the Joaquina Beach inside section. There he is slashing off the top, then he turns square off the bottom for a quick check in the lip there, and then finishes off with a very fast re-entry, only to give up from that wave because there was nothing on offer there. There is a quick up and in and out for blue Jadson Andre.
And here we see both of these guys gunning it out to the lineup. A little bit of a paddle battle going on here as both of these guys try and establish priority. And it looks like Kanoa Igarashi is going to beat out Jadson Andre and be awarded priority from our judge up in the tower.
Yes, apart from the judges scoring the riders, the surfers, I should say, there's also a priority judge up there just to decide who's got it. Well, there he is, red with priority. 33 minutes onto the final.
If you've never seen the priority judge card keeping priority, it almost looks like a little laminated checkerboard and little pieces that move from place to place each time a rider takes a wave, and the judge moves the pieces around accordingly throughout the course of the event to keep track of who has priority. And in the case of four-man priority, who's first, who's second, who's third, all the way down the line. And, that's his job. He keeps track of priority solely through the course of each heat.
Yes, well, this is a man-on-man hit, but, Blue had a look there, but didn't catch. Anyways, remember, this is the final of this QS event, so they have been running man-on-man hits since the 16-man round. But
on the Key West, they start since round number 1 with 4-man heats. So these guys have a lot of job, a lot of work up there, especially the priority judge who's got to select that.
Yes, it was only a couple of years ago that they started using 4-man priority in QS Series heats. And you know what? As we talked about earlier, it has really changed things for the better. It has helped progress the sport that much more.
That's right. Instead of hassling each other, the surfers have to wait until their rivals catch the wave to have right of way. So that eliminated the hassle that had before surfers because they were all hungry for a wave. So sometimes there were interference called, and that was not very nice. The surfers were not happy, and so there's the solution for the system. So brilliant job done by the World Surf League for adapting that.
Yeah, thanks to the 4-man priority system, the days of guys paddle battling at the start of a heat, banging rails and getting tangled up with each other is a thing of the past.
That's right. Meanwhile, out in the water, Kanoa Igarashi scored a 7.67. What a great ride for this kid in red.
So the early advantage goes to the young Huntington Beach local. He also has priority right now, as we've already watched the first 4.5 minutes fly away. We're down to 3:35 left on the clock here. You can see both these guys keeping close tabs on one another out in the lineup. Again, Igarashi with priority. Jadson Andre trying to play catch-up here early. As my colleague mentioned, a 7.67 to open for Kanoa Igarashi. That score has him ahead of Jadson. Jadson with a minimal score on an up-and-down ride to start, still looking to dial in something more substantial and get his heat going.
Right. Talking about the difference between 4-man heats and man-on-man heats, these two surfers have started the event seeded into the second round. So they didn't surf on the first day because of their seeding order. There it is, the replay for red.
Yeah, you can see the big vertical approach, opening turn, strong second turn, and then the knifing action off the end as Kanoa Igarashi put together 3 strong turns on that wave. Again, a 7.67 to start off his campaign here in the final as he battles it out with Jadson Andre. And here it looks like a set rolling in on the outside. Both of these guys paddling for position. Kanoa Igarashi with priority, paddling over, but it looks like Jadson Andre in position for this.
Wow.
Kanoa's going to use his priority to block on that one. So a little strategy already coming into play here in this heat. Again, Igarashi, and Andre taking a look at that one. Igarashi looked back at Andre, then took the wave, then promptly kicked out. But now priority to the hands of Andre. And I'm sure we're going to see a little back and forth with these guys as they, work their way through this heat. As I mentioned before, a little bit of a mental battle as well as a physical battle for points on the scoreboard.
That's how it goes in professional surfing because these guys are very serious about their business. There he is. Kanoa is going to turn and maybe try into that inside section. Quick in and out, really, for Kanoa. The man in red going up against Jadson Andre. Jadson only has a very little score, pretty much the same as Kanoa will get from his last ride. But meanwhile, Jadson Andre has got priority, so he can choose whatever comes his way. It looks like there's a set approaching. You can check the image for yourself and see the drone hovering above the 2-man final here in Joaquina Beach at the Hang Loose Pro Contest 2016 from the World Surf League.
Just under 28 minutes remaining in this 35-minute final. As you can see on your screen, some sets starting to roll in through the outside. Both of these guys ducking under that first wave as they make their way out and try and get into position for these sets rolling through. Jadson Andre with priority right now, looking to get his first substantial and relevant score on the scoreboard so far. And just to touch upon the rankings one more time, as they are a key part of what these guys are battling it out for, not just the event win. Coming into this event, Kanoa Igarashi ranked 8th, Jadson Andre ranked 58th. But thanks to their performances here at the Hang Loose Pro coming into this final, Kanoa had moved into third, and Jadson Andre had moved up to 29th on the qualification series rankings, respectively. So both of these guys really helping their cause here in the latter portion of the year. Again, the last major QS event before shifting over to Hawaii for two 10,000-point events to finish off the season. And, both of these guys really doing their best to put together a good result here. Obviously, you can't do much better than making the finals. The only step past that, win the entire event and be the man holding up the winner's trophy when all is said and done.
That's right. Even though they are CT surfers used to surf up against 34, now they have battled it out against 144. That's the start of the event, how many surfers we had. So brilliant job done by these young men paddling out there. You can see them on the image here from the structure here in Joaquina. It looks like there is a set approaching and it's starting to break. Maybe on the middle section, there is red up and riding.
Sets rolling in. Igarashi driving down the line, pumping for speed, looking for a section. Airs out the reverse off the end section. A single move,
Wow.
but a lot of speed and power on that one. Punches the reverse off the end, sticks the landing. Nice wave there for Kanoa Igarashi. That'll give him his second solid score. Here's the replay.
Wow, he pumps that board for speed and then takes it to the air. And that's what is amazing. His landing is perfect. He does it with style and with his feet planted over the deck of that board. So amazing job done by Igarashi. There he is, 8th in the rankings of the QS.
Again, that's where he started at the beginning of this event, already up to 3rd. And just taking a quick look at the rankings, we'll get back to that in a sec, is Jadson Andre dialing in his first substantial score of the heat as he gets his campaign started and underway, working his way to the inside, finishes off with a slash there. And so now we can get Jadson Andre into the mix here in this final. He waited a long time to use the priority, put it to good use. Here's the replay.
Yes, he checks with the lip quickly right there, and then he climbs over the foam there, only to finish on the inside section, really, really close to the short break here in Joaquina. It's so shallow where he finished there, you have no idea. Anyways, he's paddling back out, and he's going to have now probably an average to good score, and that's the job from the judges to select what they're going to draw there. Anyways, also Igarashi has a 4th ride, so let's have a look at the drone image here in Joaquina.
Yeah, here we can see the overhead view of Igarashi paddling into position on this wave, up and riding, cranks its turn off the top, and now driving for speed, floats the section, and another float there, jams it off the end, and Igarashi really starting to pick up some momentum now as he works on building his scores, a 7.67 on his opening wave, waiting for his previous score to come in, and now the judges will have this one to dial in. Here's the replay.
Wow, amazing. So quick, this young surfer. Check his speed floating through that section, only to do another floater to finish things off with a very clean re-entry there. Wow, tell you what, impressive clean lines drawn by this kid here in Joaquina.
Now, as I was touching on prior, Kanoa Igarashi moving into the 3rd spot with his performance up to this point. He sits in 3rd behind Conor O'Leary, who sits in 2nd place, and Leonardo Fioravanti, the QS points leader, who did not attend this event. So Kanoa, just looking at the points, if he wins this event, he could very well move up ahead of Conor O'Leary into the number 2 spot with a win here against Jadson Andre. But again, that man right there in the blue jersey, the Brazilian vet, Jadson Andre with priority, going to do his best to take the win and keep the young Californian at bay. And again, just waiting for scores to come in. A 4.0 came in for Jadson Andre on his last wave as he looks to build his scores right now, sitting on a 0.23 and a 4.0. Now, a 4.57 on that last wave will not factor in as Kanoa Igarashi has a 2-wave combined score of 13.0. Now Jadson Andre needs a 9.0 to catch up to the 19-year-old local from HB.
Wow, 22 minutes and 10 seconds remaining for this heat. He has plenty of time to do so. We watched before when Judson turned things around up against Adriano de Souza, the current world champion, yesterday. So everything is possible out here, and it looks like there's a little set approaching, and there he is. He's got priority, remember, so Judson can catch this wave, and I believe he will.
Jadson Andre looking to scrap into this one. Can't quite get in front of it, though. He'll turn around and paddle back out. Meanwhile, priority passes to the hands of Igarashi. Igarashi taking a look at this wave, and Jadson Andre has to back off. Igarashi up backside, big bang, making it rain out the back. Quick snap off the top there, goes vertical for the final turn. And there you can see, he's kind of feeling it right now, but he needs to be careful. He cannot let his guard down. Still 21 minutes left on the clock. Jadson Andre, a seasoned veteran, laying in wait for his opportunity to strike. But here's the replay of Igarashi.
Wow, how was that first move? And then he ended up that left with a huge, big re-entry on a small wave. And there he is. You can see by his body positioning that he is very, very stoked.
All smiles on that one.
Wow, and he had just taken priority on the second before he took off on that wave, because remember, Jadson Andre had tried to catch a wave, but he couldn't. So Red was right there.
Yeah, there was a quick turnover of priority, and Jadson wisely backed off on that wave. As he was paying attention, he realized, I have priority, but I made a conscious effort to paddle for that previous wave, so now he has priority. I cannot go, or I will get hit with an interference and automatically handicap myself for the rest of that heat. So heads-up play by Jadson Andre, who's up and riding.
Wow, quick off the top there for another snap off the top. There he is, another re-entry there into the section. Finishes off, but maybe not. He still has some space to move. And there it is. He put on 4 moves on that little right, and he should improve his situation right now, because with 19 minutes, 50 seconds to go, and the scores Igarashi has his better move.
And here's a look at the replay. Opening turn off the top from Jadson Andre. Quick vertical stab there. Now comes around, snaps it off the top there. And he's going to get another turn, a quick vertical attack on that most recent effort, and then smacks off the end section there. Jadson Andre continues to work on his scores. He has a 4.0 as a high score, trying to toss a 0.50 as a backup as he continues to try and work his way back into this heat. Just over 19 minutes remaining, and 8.17 coming in for the last wave of Kanoa Igarashi to go with a 7.67. And now Jadson Andre finds himself in an uncomfortable spot. He has journeyed into Combo Land. For those of you who don't know what I'm rambling on about, combination situation. Jadson Andre now needs 2 completely new high-scoring waves, totaling 15.85 if he's going to catch up with Igarashi. So the youngster really, I can't really call him that much of a youngster. He's a year away from being 20. Is a legal adult in the United States, but Kanoa Igarashi, the young California kid, really doing his best to try and take it to Jadson Andre right now. But again, Jadson, seasoned vet, 18 minutes on the clock. All it takes is 2 waves to flip the script out there. We'll see how it plays out, but right now, the young Californian leading the way in confident fashion.
That's right. Well, remember that Jadson rode a wave recently, so the judges are now clicking in their scores for their ride, and he should change and improve a little bit his situation. There it is. He scored a 6.5 on his last wave, so now he's back in the hunt, because he needs an excellent score to get 9.34 to move into the lead. So, it's not an easy score to get with conditions like that. We have seen before that Igarashi's highest waves are up to 8.17 and 7.67. So now Jadson has a job in hand.
And there you can see a quick look at the crowd. Everybody throwing shakas down there at Water's Edge. We've literally got people in the water at the edge of the competition area to try and get an up close and personal view of the action out in the final. And we've got security down there, and it's a pretty wild scenario down there on the beach.
Right. Well, from the booth here, watching the camera, there is the drone hovering above, but we could hear it. There's a helicopter on top of the beach too, so traffic control should be careful because there are so many devices flying around here in Joaquina today.
In the immortal words of David Bowie, ground control, the Major Tom, we need to reel things in a little bit here with the drones and the helicopters and the paragliders and everything flying around overhead here at the Hang Loose Pro.
Well, this is the drone from the broadcast from the World Surf League. Brilliant job from these guys, Mauricio Buchecha and Luciano Jardim. Congratulations to all of the staff from this man, because the broadcast since day one has been amazing. Check the action from their cameras. Wow, Blue is up. Wow, he's up and riding.
Here we go. Jadson Andre looking to line up this left-hander. Drops in, gets a good speed line. Big snap off the top. Unfortunately, buries his nose coming out of that. So Jadson continues to struggle a little bit. He was able to put together a 6.50 on his previous wave to take himself out of combination situation, but he just having a little trouble finding his groove and putting together any kind of consistency out in this final so far. And, it's somewhat bizarre to see him struggling in a heat like this, especially the way he has performed throughout the course of this event.
Right. Wow. So unlucky there to dive the nose of his board there and miss that opportunity, because the wave really lined up well for him. Well, he's paddling. He's up and riding again.
So a quick turnaround. Jadson Andre trying to dial in something a little more to his liking. Chucks out the air reverse. Sticks the landing but falls behind. It'll be interesting to see if the judges score that as a make or an incomplete. From early indications, that's going to be an incomplete.
That's right. Well, the way he couldn't carry on, check off for yourself here on the replay. He landed it, but then he couldn't keep moving with the wave, so judges will not take that in regard of a good score.
Yeah, watching it on the slow motion replay, you could see very evident he fell behind and was not able to ride out clean, so an incomplete maneuver there. Jadson Andre continues to struggle in an effort to find consistency and find the scores he needs. Again, he was able to put together a 6.50 a few waves ago. Now looking for a 9.34. So he improved his position, got himself out of combo land, but still trying to track down Kanoa Igarashi. There you can see the overhead view of Igarashi sitting out the back with priority. Already down to about 14 minutes remaining in this 35-minute heat, and time is just flying by. For Kanoa Igarashi, that may be a good thing. For Jadson Andre, the pressure seems to be mounting out there as he continues to try and chase a pretty sizable score.
Yes, Jadson maybe probably a little tired from the running of the event so far, because these guys, they keep surfing heats, but also they warm up on the area besides the contest, which has really good conditions, I should say, because Joaquina Beach has so many sandbars available for these surfers, and all the international and the local surfers, Brazilian surfers, have been taking advantage of that throughout this week. Remember, we had a cyclone on the week before the event, which brought a huge swell here, maybe 12 to 15 foot waves here in Joaquina alone, not to mention the south of the state, where conditions were absolutely stormy.
Yes,
Anyways,
that big storm you're talking about did a very good job of grooming the sandbars here, really smoothed over the contour of the bottom here, and as a result, we've had solid rippable conditions every day of this event. The one day we had to take off, it was merely because the winds were so hard, it chopped it up to the point that it wasn't even worth riding. And, again, amazing conditions throughout the course of this event, as we've seen guys rip their way through heats, drop some big scores. These two guys in particular, really impressive throughout, and that's part of the reason why we're watching them here in the final, and now watching Jadson Andre up and riding.
Well, he puts speed into that board and flies over that section and makes it. So there it is. Now I believe Jadson has started
to make matters for him, because he has so far a 4-point ride and a 6.5. Let's see if he can improve on that.
Yeah, here you can see driving down the line. Gets the one maneuver. He chucks out the nose pick reverse. Little bobble there at the end, but still, trying to nail down a bigger score. Again, he's trying to chase down a 9.34, which has been pretty elusive to this point for him, sitting on a 6.50. His last couple of reverse attempts, unfortunately, has not been able to ride out clean in front of it. But you know what? In front of the action in the water there, you can see all the people on the beach underneath the drone cam footage. Everybody pumped to be here watching this, being a part of this 30th anniversary event. Yeah, Shaka's flying everywhere. Not just, good vibes on the beach, but a little shout-out tribute to Hang Loose and their involvement with Brazilian surfing for the last 30 years.
Very well. And what an amazing job done by the World Surf League to put up this event 30 years later after its first edition in '86. And now we have all the structure from modern times, cameras, drones, and computers and smartphones, everything to bring you live action from the professional surfers. The best professional surfers on the planet are competing right here. Remember, we had a strong field from the CT here in the names of Ryan Cullinan. Also, Kenua Singh was here too, and Adriano Mineirinho de Souza, the current world champion, and Gabriel Medina himself.
And, of course, the Brazilians battling it out on the QS. We saw guys like Ian Gouveia and Bino Lopez who are trying to position themselves for the championship tour in 2017. Some really big names here. All of these guys giving it all they had, battling it out throughout the course of the week in an effort to maintain or improve their position to qualify for that 2017 championship tour, where those guys will take a shot at the world title.
Yes, well, meanwhile, Blue was up and riding in a quick in and out there, so Jadson André is getting maybe a little bit frustrated there. You can see by the movement from his head, because he can't catch a set wave and perform well. That last wave didn't give him much. The air attempt there, the judges didn't consider it a landing, so he's pedaling back out. But I'll tell you what, Igarashi, not only the lead, has priority too.
All right, so this 35-minute final, time just flying by, burning away, whatever colorful phrase you want to use to describe it, but the seconds continue to tick off the clock. Kanoa Igarashi continues to lead the way, and Jadson Andre remains in a situation where he needs to dial up something pretty sizable. Again, he needs to hunt out a 9.34 to grab the lead. He either needs to stomp a really big maneuver with something to go with it, or he needs to break that into two new waves. Either way, time running out for the Brazilian out in the water right now here in the final, as Kanoa Igarashi has pretty much led the way. He jumped out early with an opening 7.67 score, has not looked back since.
There it is, Jadson again with a quick in and out. So he keeps getting frustrated from catching a wave and not being able to stay with it. There he is, duck diving through the whitewash there. But the man in red is probably very happy because he's got a strong lead over his opponent, and with 8 minutes 20 seconds remaining, red still has priority up to this point.
I will say this about Jadson Andre. The guy is a fighter. He's got a ton of heart. And we saw it with that heat against Adriano de Souza in the round of 16. Not going down without a fight. He's going to scratch and claw until the very last second to do everything in his power to try and nail down the scores he needs to come out ahead. Again, right now, 9.34, a pretty tall order. We'll see what he serves up in the final 8 minutes, just under 8 minutes remaining on the clock.
That's right. Jadson is a strong fighter. He comes from the Northeast, and he came all the way from around the world. And to be competing here in this event, he never gives up until the last second. We watched yesterday when he just did that up against the current world champion, Adriano de Souza himself.
And here you can see it looks like we may have a couple of waves rolling through on the outside. Again, Igarashi in possession of priority. Jadson Andre in need of a 9.34. We'll see how the next exchange pans out for these guys as they both remain shoulder to shoulder, eyes on the horizon, waiting for their next opportunity to dial in a score.
Well, here's a drone image from our competitors here in this final. Californian surfer Kanoa Igarashi up against Brazilian Jadson Andre. Both are CT surfers competing here in this Key West 6,000 event, Hang Loose Pro Contest 2016, in its 30th anniversary year, being held here back in Joaquina. So congratulations to Alfio Lagnado. Thank you so much for putting up this event along with World Surf League. Kanoa Igarashi seems to be a winner from this heat, but it's not over yet. We have 6 minutes and 14 seconds to go, so everything can change up until the horn sounds. And even though Blue has second priority, believe me, that man can turn things around very quickly with just one ride.
So it'll be interesting to see if Jadson Andre can pull this out. Looking at the history of the Hang Loose Pro, the past 30 years, obviously that first event in 1986 won by Dave McCauley of Australia, taking out Mark Akialupo in the final. But since then, we've seen Tom Carroll go back-to-back in 87 and 88. And over the 30-year history of the Hang Loose Pro and its various incarnations and various locations, we've seen 16 of those events won by Brazilians. Can Jadson Andre become the 17th? He's trying to make his case now.
Wow, he tried for an off the lip there, but he couldn't quite hold it. Now he starts screaming to himself there on the inside. He seems to be a little bit frustrated with his efforts because he can't keep up. I believe he's maybe tired or nervous, but needless to say, how calm is Igarashi?
Honestly, I don't think nerves has anything to do with it. These guys are, cold and collected when it comes to competing. These guys are as cool as the other side of the pillow, as the dearly departed Stuart Scott would say. And, right now, Jadson Andre, he's still all focused out there trying to nail down those scores. Igarashi, though, we have 4.5 minutes remaining. We already have burned through the first half hour plus of this 35-minute final. Igarashi has led throughout. And, both of these guys, just cool characters out in the lineup trying to get the job done. Igarashi, he sits on the lead and priority. Jadson Andre, he may be trailing right now and need a pretty big score. But, he has nothing else on his mind except dropping big scores out in the water before the heat expires.
There he is, paddling outside, waiting for a better set maybe and try to change things around. Remember, the winner from this heat will be walking away with a prize of $25,000. There is a strategy playing. Wow, Kanoa Igarashi took the advantage of priority and set off into that left with big moves out there on the beginning of that ride, but then couldn't quite hold it.
So Igarashi keeping busy. He's actually built his score through the course of the heat. Again, he started with a 7.67, his previous wave an 8.17. That last wave, probably not going to factor into the mix when all is said and done. Here we take a quick look, drops in, nice vertical stab off the top, pumps for speed, a little rock and roll floater action again there, as he's been dialing in some stylish floaters today, but not a whole lot of excitement on that end section. Again, a 4.73 for his efforts on that one will not factor into his top two scores, which you can see on the board right there. 8.17, 7.67 for Igarashi. He leads the way. Jadson Andre, sitting on priority, has a 6.50 and a 4.0 to his name. A bit of a shocker for Jadson Andre thus far as we get down to the last 2:45 on the clock. Again, he's still trying to put together a 9.34 if he's going to be able to come from behind and overtake Igarashi in the closing minutes.
Yes, we were mentioning before the winner from this event will be walking away with 6,000 points.
under his belt through the QS rankings, plus 25,000 US dollars into his bank account. So that is a very good thing, I believe, for these young surfers here in Jokina.
Well, I tell you what, second place, not too shabby either. Easing the pain of the second place finisher in the final, that person will be walking away with 4,500 points. So, still a solid payoff for second place, as well as a pretty solid check as well. So, you know what? Everybody wants to come out on top and be the winner at one of these events. Unfortunately, we can only crown one event champion. Second place, you really can't hang your head. A good payout, a good result, and, a very respectable finish overall.
That's right. We are in Brazil, so if one of them ends up in second place, $12,000 $12,000 US dollars will mean in Brazil maybe.
Whoa, hold the phone. We have sets rolling in, just over a minute remaining. Jadson Andre with priority. Will he get a shot at Igarashi before time expires? There you can see some lines on the horizon rolling in. Igarashi actually inside of Andre taking a look. Jadson Andre paddling out, hoping something stands up and gives him an opportunity. He's paddling for position.
Wow.
We'll see what goes down. Less than a minute remaining. Here it is.
It seems like a good wave is approaching. There he is. The man in blue is up and riding, pumping his board, trying to make it to the inside. There it is, strong off the top, going very fast. Another quick snap there and finishes off with a big re-entry there on the inside. That was Jadson Andre, probably his last effort with 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, and there you can see he's kind of looking back, contemplating what he should do. And he's throwing shakas back out to Igarashi as he has conceded. 20 seconds remaining. That last wave was not going to be enough. So you know what? A great show of sportsmanship from Jadson Andre. Gets the last-ditch effort in the end. He had the strong opening turn there, you can see on the replay. Follows it up with a big turn off the top, making it rain out the back, and slices off the end section. But he knows right then and there that's not going to be worth a 9.34. It ends up coming in at 6.87. He turned around, looked back, got Kanoa Igarashi's attention, threw him the shaka, and hey, nice job, kid, I'm out of here. And there you have your event champion as time expires. Kanoa Igarashi, in very impressive fashion, takes the win here at the 2016 Hang Loose Pro.
Yes, wow. He's a happy kid right there, sitting on the ski of the water safety. There they are. He's bringing him in from his final hit of the day. He's walking away, as we mentioned before, with 6,000 points on the QS, and that's what he's looking for. I'm sure the cash will be good to him, but these guys are professional surfers. They want the title, the trophy, and, especially the points to be next year on the CT Tour and carry on with their their career.
So there you can see a really stoked Kanoa Igarashi making his way in. Fist raised to the sky, pounding his board, and he is pumped as he makes his way in and is going to be greeted by, Griffin Colapinto, his fellow Southern California surfer, greeting him at the water's edge. They throw on his hat, make sure to have the sponsors represented, and he's going to get chaired up to the tower.
And that's
he
Renzi
is the
right
event
there.
champion. Wow, you know what? This kid is so stoked. He put on an incredible performance. And, for as an amazing run as Jadson Andre had throughout this event, Kanoa Igarashi took it to him right from the beginning, opened up strong, never let up on the intensity, built on his scores. At one point, put Jadson in combination situation and just, had Jadson on his heels throughout the course of that final. And now able to hold on, wins. Again, as I mentioned, in very impressive fashion, the 19-year-old kid from Huntington Beach, California, being chaired up to the tower where he will be crowned the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro champion.
Wow.
Amazing job done. He's been carried all the way to the structure here by his friends. Also, Ranzi Bukian is there from the Quicksilver team, along with Griffin Colapinto. Well, he mentioned before on the interview that Colapinto is in the same room, so these guys have been traveling together. So, what a great job put up. There it is. There it is. Wow. Amazing job done by Igarashi. And, well, his countryman is sitting right there. Colapinto also rode very well, and he kept, surfing all the way to the semifinals when he had to go up against Igarashi. And then Igarashi made it, and, he surfed up against Judson André.
All right, well, we're going to get set up for the awards presentation and the post wrap-up with the guys from the Portuguese side of things. So we're going to clear out. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the post-show wrap-up and the award ceremony. I'm Steve Jackson for Desio Koto. We're out of here. Again, stay tuned. More to come.
Thank you. So long.
Tava bem doente, a primeira bateria eu passei me arrastando, mas enfim, tô amarradão, parabéns no Canoa, é um moleque muito difícil de ganhar e sem dúvida nessas condições ele é bem favorito, mas tô amarradão, tá na final, fazer uns pontinhos agora e ir pro Hawaii com tudo. Valeu, turma.
É isso aí, Jadson André, passa agora o microfone para as mãos do meu amigo Marcos Bocaiu, vai com você.
Um prazer, Paulo Issa, vamos lá, 2 microfones, 2 surfistas, português e inglês. Oh my God, man, what an amazing week for you. Such an overwhelming feeling right now. How can you describe that for all your audience in the web and here in Florianopolis?
Yeah, that was a crazy final, crazy week. Really important event for me and a lot of people, and I really need this event to requalify, and hopefully this is going to help me a lot. And yeah, I'm just really stoked with how this event happened and everything went for me.
We have a lot of Brazilian favorites like Dave McCauley back in the day. After that, Taj Burrow, John Florence. You are in that league right now.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling. There's amazing champions in this contest, and I'm really honored to be one of them, and I'm really stoked for this day.
Can we go global right now in Portuguese and Japanese? Omedetou, parabéns, go for it.
Obrigado a todos pelo apoio. Estou muito feliz. Sim, este campeonato foi muito importante para mim. E sim, agora para Hawaii.
Let me go to Jadson right now. A little Portuguese and English also. Parabéns, Jadson. Que semana. Você começou o campeonato gripado. You grab a flu. You were not in your 100% mood. How was it?
Foi demais. Tu chegou nessa final. Eu acho que fazia 2 anos que eu não chegava na final do campeonato. E fiz umas baterias assim, principalmente a bateria contra o Adriano, que foi uma das minhas melhores baterias nos últimos anos. E, pô, como eu falei, é demais fazer uma final, ainda mais aqui no Brasil. A gente só tem a oportunidade de competir 2 eventos no circuito mundial no Brasil, então a gente faz de tudo para poder passar o máximo de baterias possíveis e para a galera poder acompanhar e também torcer. É alucinante. Quase tive uma lembrança incrível de 2010. Eu venci a minha única etapa no WCT e tava tudo acontecendo. Eu realmente queria muito ter vencido, mas como eu já falei, quase bastante no surf dele, mas não posso reclamar. Cheguei na final, levar um troféuzinho para cá e mais uma vez agradecer esse público aí maravilhoso por estar sempre torcendo. Sem dúvidas, até mesmo os gringos falam que o público brasileiro é o melhor público do mundo, então vocês estão de parabéns, galera. Valeu.
Isso aí, vamos fazer barulho, galera. Kanoa Igarashi e Jadson André. A little shout out right now. Oh my God. And I gotta say, man, amazing week for you. We are cheering you. Just translating your interview. He saw, like in his mind, a little flashback from the clinching the winner, his first win over CT in the first year against Kelly Slater. So there was a movie inside your head. What about your mindset for Hawaii right now? Como está a sua preparação e sua cabeça para o Havaí?
Agora ir para o Havaí, focado. Esse resultado me ajudou bastante no ranking do WQS, mas ainda não estou perto ali da zona de classificação. Realmente o meu foco esse ano é para o Pipe Master, então eu espero chegar lá no Pipe Master e fazer um belo resultado.
Parabéns, congratulations, keep rocking, boa sorte na Havaí. Aloha there, okay? Kanoa Igarashi, I gotta grab the guy in freestyle mood, he's over there with the whole media from Brazil. Let's do some freestyle here. He's talking in Portuguese.
All right, so Steve Jackson back in the booth here with Desio Koto. As you can see, the interview with Marcos Bakayova talking to Kanoa Igarashi and Jadson Andre. There you can see Kanoa Igarashi, our event champion, speaking with the media here at the Hang Loose Pro. And also there you can see Jake the Snake Patterson getting some video on his cell phone, maybe a little Facebook Live. And it looks like we're getting set to send things back down to Marcos Bakayova.
Have you ever seen a massive crowd of news, guys, journalists interview you like this?
No, never. This is crazy. I'm actually more nervous now on the beach than I was in the water. So it's a really different feeling. But it's, the people here are amazing, and the support for surfers is really cool, and I'm really stoked to be here.
Yeah, what about your fans in Portugal, all the family in Japan, or your base fans in USA? Congrats to represent so good, Orange County, Huntington Beach.
Yeah, thanks everybody for the support. My parents, my family, my brother, my grandparents back in Japan. みんな応援してくれてありがとうございます。この大会勝ちましたので、今年の QS 今一番のランキングに行ったので、次の来年の CT にクオリフィケーションしたので、すごい嬉しいです。
おめでとう。
嬉しいです。Yeah, thank you everybody watching. Philippe, Bernard, Tomas, Vasco, all you guys, thanks for watching. Tio Paulo, Tio João, Terezinha, all you guys, all the messages really mean a lot, and I think gave me a lot of strength to win this contest.
How about a little shout out to Mr. Jake the Snake Patterson right now? Where is he? Jake's right now.
I don't know where he is, but he's a legend. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. He's been helping me for a little bit last few years now, and he has a lot of patience with me, even though I'm kind of crazy. But really feel comfortable with someone you can call your friend and your coach and your mentor and everything. And a big shout out to him, Mr. Sunset. So this is for us. You.
Good luck on Hawaii, man. Omedetou gozaimashita. Thank you very much, man. You're also kid. You represent so good sport of surfing. Okay. Thank you, guys. Back to you, Steve, on the booth.
All right, thank you, Marcos. Again, there with Kanoa Igarashi, the winner of the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro QS 6000. And there you can see a swarm of media down there, lots of fans. And, everybody looking to talk to the event champion, the 19-year-old from Huntington Beach, California.
Wow, what an amazing job done by this young man, Igarashi. Coming all the way from Huntington Beach here to Joaquina for the Hang Loose Pro Contest 2016. Such a historic event here after its inaugural event in 1986. So 30 years ago, this project started. And here we have the winner from the last edition, the 2016 World Surf League QS 6000. Kanoa Igarashi. There he is with his interviews from all the media surrounding him. The Quicksilver Red Bull kid is there talking about his experience here in Joaquina. And it's amazing to notice that Kanoa Igarashi, not only Portuguese, because we are in Brazil and we speak Portuguese here in this country, he also speaks English, Japanese, and Spanish. So a 19-year-old kid who can speak four languages, and surf like that is a total winner. Wow! Congratulations to Kanoa and his family, and what an amazing job also done by Jadson Andre, who got second.
So while the local and international media run through their questions with the event champion, we're going to take a look at the recap as we get things set up for the award ceremony here at the 30th anniversary Hang Loose Pro. Again, here's a look at Griffin Colapinto. This kid looked really strong throughout, but unfortunately he ran up against fellow Californian Kanoa Igarashi in semifinal number 1. It was Igarashi working his way through, slicing and dicing, bang out some big moves to move on. And then in semi number 2, David Silva, the defending Santa Catarina QS 6000 champion, did his best to battle it out with Jadson Andre, but it was going to be Jadson Andre coming out ahead with the advantage, advancing to the final with maneuvers like that.
Wow. Amazing job also by Jadson by beating this young up-and-comer David Silva. There on the recap, you see the air attempt from Mr. Andre. Brilliant job done by this. Well, we can call him maybe even a veteran because he's been surfing for so long on the World Surf League. There it is, the winner from this event, Igarashi. So fast, this kid. Look at that.
Yeah, this kid came out strong with his opening wave in the final against Jadson Andre. Worked on his scores, continued to build. And at one point there you could see all smiles. Put Jadson Andre into combination situation. He would fight his way back with this wave, but would still be left needing a pretty sizable score in the final that he could just not dial up. Mother Nature really not offering up the big scoring potential, allowing to get Jadson into a flow, find the rhythm, and dial up a 9.43, which is what he was left needing. There you can see Jadson didn't go down without a fight, but unfortunately just did not have enough out there in the final to keep pace with Kanoa Igarashi.
sei que é a minha última onda, eu não iria virar, mas se fosse pela torcida da galera, quando eu finalizei ali, a onda teria sido 10. Mas é isso, tá sendo um ano bem difícil pra mim, um ano de superação. Eu tô desde Bells, no dia 2 de abril eu machuquei meu tornozelo, e logo na sequência eu machuquei meu joelho. E não pude parar porque eu não tenho mais vaga de convidado no WCT, então eu estou aí há 8 meses competindo com 2 lesões, logo na minha perna de trás. Então está sendo um ano difícil, mas como brasileiro eu estou aí batalhando, buscando a minha vaga no WCT e não vai ser essas lesões que vão.
All right, so here we go with
Jadson André sendo aplaudido, aclamado pela segunda colocação do Hang Loose Pro Contest.
Esse é guerreiro e dos bons. Canoa, you can speak in Portuguese? What do you think?
Posso? Estou muito nervoso agora.
But the crowd likes that you speak in Portuguese. A few words. First of all, you're the new king of Brazil, winning Itacaré last year, and now win here in Joaquina. Eu falei para ele que ele era o novo rei do Brasil, está se tornando o novo rei do Brasil, porque ele ganhou Itacaré no ano passado e agora ganhou aqui na Joaquina.
Yeah, Brazil is a really special place for me.
Brasil é um lugar muito especial para mim.
The crowd is amazing, and that's why I love this place, and the food and the culture, everything's amazing. So thank you, everybody.
All right, so Steve Jackson back here in the booth, as you can see, bringing you the live coverage of the award ceremony. Klaus Kaiser, our Portuguese announcer, up on stage with our finalists. Now speaking with Kanoa Igarashi, our event champion. Jadson Andre finishing second. Both of these guys looking really stout throughout the course of competition. And again, I can see a stoked Kanoa Igarashi taking the win.
Congrats. Okay. Jadson
There you can see Jadson Andre being awarded the second place trophy. The crowd going wild as they cheer on their fellow Brazilian. Again, Jadson Andre with a solid run through the field of competition this week. And now a trophy and a champagne shower, the beer shower as well for the event winner, Kanoa Igarashi. Not quite old enough to drink back in the United States, but here in Brazil, 18 is the age. So, you know what? Nothing wrong with a little champagne and beer shower for the victor. As I say, to the victor go the spoils. And there you can see our two finalists and our event champion, Kanoa Igarashi, as these guys celebrate in style on stage here at the Hang Loose Pro.
Wow, amazing job. I'll tell you what, the Hang Loose Pro Contest 2016, just repeating the story here from this contest. We have great winners here in the names of Igarashi and Andre. They are with their trophies. They're taking a pic for themselves. Check, that's a selfie.
Here we go, the selfie with the trophies and the crowd in the background. Pretty priceless moment there for both of these guys.
Wow. Tell you what, I'm really happy for both of them. Well, especially for Igarashi because he's so young and he has done such a great job surfing here in this event, showing some clean, classic, powerful surfing. But he also takes it to the air, and every time he does so, he lands with perfect style and total control over his board. So congratulations also to Jadson Andre. Incredible job done by this. Well, he's not an up-and-comer, maybe even a veteran after 6 years on the World Tour. So there's the image from both of the finalists.
So, yes, impressive performances from both guys as we put a wrap on things here at the 2016 WSL Hang Loose Pro. We go to the aerial footage one more time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm Steve Jackson, joined by Desio Koto. We're all finished here. Thank you for following along. Be sure to check out WorldSurfLeague.com for all the latest news and video highlights. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much. So long. Bye-bye.
Bye.